to be with my girlfriend. I gave up inheriting the family business. Every day, I drank and socialized for her, pinching pennies to help her climb to the top of the entertainment industry. But to cover up another man's scandal, she used me as a scapegoat. I was doxxed by the entire internet. I finally saw her for who she was and broke up with her. The next time we met was on a dating reality show. The host excitedly announced my entrance, general manager of the coup group, Francis. The moment I stepped through the door, I saw Sarah's expression crack. She demanded why I didn't keep our promise, and I calmly smiled. To hell with that promise. Chapter 1. Marketing gossip account. The next-gen starlet from the post-2000s generation was spotted spending half the night with a mysterious man. In just half an hour, I'll reveal the identity of this starlet to everyone. I immediately zoomed in on the photo, confirming that the mysterious man was me, and that next-gen starlet was none other than Sarah, my girlfriend from high school all the way into adulthood. I was about to call her, but it was too late. Fans, with their sharp eyes like magnifying glasses, quickly exposed that the starlet in the photo was Sarah. Just then, I received a message from Baby Sorry on WeChat. Don't interfere, no matter what happens next. Just stay out of it. I didn't understand yet, but soon, after seeing her public statement, everything became clear. Sarah's team released a statement. The man in the photo is a crazed fan of Sarah who's been stalking her for weeks, driven mad by his obsession. That night, he broke into Sarah's house to avoid escalating the situation, and seeing that he was just a fan, Sarah chose to handle it privately. The comments below read, so basically, a creepy stalker, gross. Sarah is way too kind. If it were me, I'd have called the police and thrown him in jail. Who is this guy? Sisters, let's expose him so everyone can steer clear. The internet worked quickly. Soon my name, phone number, and current address were all dug up. I started receiving countless insults and hate messages. Calling you a toad wanting a swan is giving you too much credit. People even began attacking my school and family. I forced myself to keep reading through the anger and pain, my fingers trembling as I scrolled. Yet, how many of these indignant netizens knew that this had all been part of Sarah's plan from the start? She blew up her own scandal and sacrificed her boyfriend just to cover for the film Emperor Luis and his casting couch scandal. I knew she had a plan, but I never expected it to be this. How romantic, sacrificing me for another man. Chapter 2. As the hate against me grew worse, the heat around Luis's scandal died down. Sarah finally remembered her tool, her boyfriend. She called me. Fran, are you okay? Don't be mad. I had no choice. You know, Luis and I have a new show coming out soon. We couldn't let anything go wrong. Just think of it as helping my career. Sarah rambled on, afraid I'd ruin her plan. In the end, she rewarded me with a date, then quickly hung up. Leaning back on the sofa, I made the leather creak beneath me, closing my eyes. Exhaustion washed over me, but what could I say? This wasn't the first time. At first, I would fight back, but every time she would brush it off with a joke. I'm doing this for our future. But Sarah, whose future are you talking about, yours and mine, or yours and Luis's? On the day of our date, she stood me up again. I had made her favorite dish, chicken soup, waiting until it got dark, reheating it several times. In the end, she sent a casual WeChat message. Sorry, I was so busy with work I forgot. But through the gossip account, I learned she had gone drinking with Luis to promote a well-known dating reality show. 123 say I love you. Their fans were shouting, the goddess should be with the god. That creepy stalker from before was so disgusting. After seeing that, what else was there to understand? Before, no one supported Sarah and Luis as a couple. Now, with me playing the intentionally defamed pursuer, their fans were all for it. Suddenly, I got a message. It was an invitation from the 123 Say I Love You show. They wanted me to join as an ordinary guest, obviously, to create more drama for the show. I didn't agree right away. I was worried my impulsive decision would mess up Sarah's plan. I'll think about it. I wanted to talk it over with her, but she didn't give me the chance. Chapter 3. She didn't even go home. Instead, she hurried straight to the Starlight Gala. Amid the sounds of camera shutters, Sarah gracefully got out of the car, arm in arm with Luis. They looked like the perfect couple, completely absorbed in each other. Watching the live broadcast of the woman who now felt so distant to me, I realized she had become almost a stranger. The only thing familiar was the shy smile on her face. Once upon a time, she was too shy to even look me in the eye. Whenever we held hands, her face would turn bright red. Back then, she was determined to take the big stage. On our first anniversary, she got drunk, cupped my face, and began slurring her words. When I become a big star, I'm going to tell the whole world that you're the man behind Sarah. At that moment, I could hear the pounding of my own heartbeat, and fireworks lit up the night sky. But now, I had become nothing more than a crazed stalker, a lowly toad, a nobody in her life. Buzz, buzz, buzz. My phone kept vibrating. It was another breaking gossip post from the marketing account. A sense of dread washed over me. Rumor has it that actress Chi and actor Lee are living together and possibly dating. I looked at the post's timestamp. It was on the day of our 7-year anniversary. That day, Sarah had told me she was shooting a nighttime drama and couldn't make it home. So this was what she meant by a nighttime drama. The feeling of betrayal was indescribable, and I felt a tightness in my chest that made it hard to breathe. The person I had loved for 7 whole years had turned into a sharp blade, stabbing me in the heart. Chapter 4. I didn't want to be pathetic or humiliated any longer, so I forced myself not to contact her. But what amused me was that she only remembered she had a boyfriend almost a week later. She rushed home, and when she saw I was still there, she let out a small sigh of relief. For a brief moment, I was relieved too, thinking she still cared about me, but in the next second, she shattered all my illusions. Did you post those comments online? She shoved her phone in my face, showing a netizen's comment that Stalker is actually Sarah's real boyfriend, who worked himself to the bone supporting her acting career. She two-timed him, and after clinging to Luis, she dumped him. It was true, I had worked tirelessly after graduation, all for her dream of becoming a star. I even drank until my stomach bled just to make connections with low-budget web series producers. I lived off steamed buns and pickles to save up money to buy her expensive handbags and clothes. So I sat on the couch, looked up at her, and asked, "Is there anything in that comment that's wrong?" Sarah was stunned into silence, only realizing after a moment that I was angry. "Fran, are you jealous?" She finally remembered the rumors about her and Luis, explaining that they were just rehearsing a scene and talking about the script, but the paparazzi twisted the truth. "Fran, don't you trust me? If others don't believe me, can't you?" Her eyes welled up with tears, her entire outfit a showcase of luxury brands. Even her hair tie gleamed under the light, making her look painfully out of place in my shabby little apartment. "Rehearsing a scene?" I let out a bitter laugh and asked her, one word at a time. "Rehearsing in bed, is that it?" My veins bulged with anger, yet I still feared my voice would frighten her, so I suppressed the fury boiling inside. "Sarah, when you were rolling around in bed with him, did you even remember for a single moment that it was our 7-year anniversary that day?" "Francis!" Sarah screamed, cutting me off. She rarely looked so flustered. "How could you think that of me?" "Yes, I should have been honest about our relationship. That's my fault." She nodded, but quickly deflected any responsibility. "But I'm a celebrity. My boyfriend has to be someone from a rich family, not someone like you." She didn't finish, but pointed to the old, broken couch. "You're just like this couch. I've wanted to replace it so many times, but you wouldn't spend the money, and you wouldn't let me spend mine. So I had to remember our past together and couldn't bring myself to throw it away. But I can't explain this to my fans." Finally, she lowered her voice. "Let's just take some time to cool off." With that, she turned and left without hesitation, never seeing the tear that slipped down my cheek. The empty room echoed with my self-deprecating laughter. But I could have been a rich second-generation heir too. Chapter 5. What Sarah didn't know was that I actually came from the prestigious Koo family. But the Koo family had a rule. If you pursue true love, you must work hard on your own. If you rely on the family's power, then you must accept an arranged marriage. To avoid pressuring Sarah, I kept all of this a secret. My father called me a fool blinded by love and said I'd eventually hit a wall. My mother once warned me, that girl may not be willing to stick with you through hard times and wait until you succeed. But I didn't listen and chose to be with her, no matter the cost. Every day I was busy, running myself ragged, bowing and scraping to bosses and clients. Sarah would never know that to help her land a luxury endorsement deal, I broke the family rules and went back home to beg my parents. That day, I knelt in the ancestral hall all night, until I collapsed with a fever and ended up in the hospital. Drip, drip, the sound of a leaking faucet pulled me back to reality, reminding me that the faucet at home was broken again. Sarah sent me a voice message. "Fran, I was too harsh earlier. I'll have time to be with you tomorrow. It's our 7-year anniversary." I didn't forget. She casually brushed everything off, like nothing had happened, but I couldn't. I picked up my phone and accepted the invitation from 123 Say I Love You. Didn't Sarah want a rich second-generation heir? Well, this time, I'd show her a brand new version of me, and I'd ask her, am I qualified now? But before I could carry out my plan, I got hit again. An old childhood friend suddenly contacted me. "Koo, you love-blinded fool. When are you going to dump that girl with the last name Chi?" Then he sent me a recording. A familiar, ominous feeling crept over me once again. I clicked play, and the first voice I heard was Sarah's. She was blunt. "I'm just trying to snag a rich second-gen heir, someone with power, money, and connections. Otherwise, I'll never make it big." A familiar voice asked, "But what about your boyfriend?" It was her manager, Sister Sue. I held my breath. Doesn't matter. Sarah's voice was indifferent. Francis is easy to fool. I just make up any excuse, and he buys it. And he can't live without me. As long as I sweet talk him, he won't be mad for long. Once I secure Luis, I'll ditch him immediately. This was the same voice that had just told me she loved only me. I had been thinking about how to become more worthy of her. Covering my face, I laughed bitterly at my own stupidity. I was already drowning in betrayal, and yet I was still thinking about salvaging this relationship. Finally, after a night of heavy drinking, I woke up with a pounding headache and sent her a breakup message, blocking her immediately afterward. Then I opened the long-neglected contacts of my parents. Dad, Mom, I've broken up. I'm ready to accept the arranged marriage. Chapter 6. 123 Say I Love You was a live-streamed reality show, and as soon as it began, fans flooded in. The focus was on Sarah and Luis, as well as the nation's goddess, Sophia. Sophia came from a good family, was an outstanding actress, and was extremely popular in the country. Sarah was the second to last person to make her entrance. After greeting everyone, she sat down, but something seemed off about her expression. Luis leaned over to check on her, sending their fans into a frenzy. Once all the celebrity guests were seated, the director smiled mysteriously. This time, we've made a change to the rules. We have a surprise new guest. The host continued excitedly. Please welcome the general manager of the coup group, Francis. The moment I stepped through the door, I saw Sarah's face crack. Chapter 7. I calmly took my seat, the only one available, and greeted Sophia beside me. The live chat exploded with comments. Coup group? Wow, the director really pulled off something big, getting a GM to join the show. Not gonna lie, sitting next to Goddess Sophia, they look pretty good together, but some people started to notice something was off. Wait, doesn't he look a bit like that creepy stalker from before? The first round was for matching couples. Ignoring Sarah's confused expression, which was practically tangible, I turned and politely asked Sophia, would I have the honor of partnering with Miss Sophia? Sophia laughed at my formal tone and joined in the fun. Of course, Mr. Francis. We exchanged a smile. Meanwhile, Sarah's eyes were glued to me, to the point where she didn't even hear Luis calling her name several times. Sarah. Luis finally lost his patience. Did you hear my invitation or not? Only then did Sarah tear her gaze away from me, giving Luis an apologetic smile. Sorry, Luis. I'm not feeling well today. She raised her voice on that last sentence, sneaking glances at me, but seeing that I remained unmoved, her expression grew even more puzzled and angry, as if I had betrayed her. But after I broke up with her, she didn't come looking for me. So this time, Sarah, I won't go soft on you anymore. After we were paired up, we each went to our designated dating spots to get to know each other better. I took Sophia to a private dessert cafe. Sophia looked surprised. I thought you would. I chuckled and finished her thought. Take you to the office. Sophia laughed. You're not quite what I imagined. Yes, the He family and my Ku family had business ties, and Sophia was my arranged marriage partner. I was upfront with her, explaining everything, including Sarah. Sophia laughed, shaking her head. She's probably regretting everything right now. That afternoon, Sophia and I talked a lot. She said, it's a pity that people with deep feelings are always the ones who get hurt. That's when I learned that she had also left her family for love, only to be ruthlessly rejected, which led to her agreeing to the arranged marriage. But as we talked, I realized that not only did we share similar interests, but our values also aligned. Looking at her bright smile, I thought maybe an arranged marriage wasn't such a bad thing after all. But this time, I wouldn't give my heart away so easily. As we walked back to the show's villa, bathed in the sunset, we found Sarah waiting for me in the living room. Chapter 8. Sarah's face, already sour, turned even uglier when she saw me chatting happily with Sophia. I won't interrupt you two, she muttered. Sophia raised an eyebrow, patted my shoulder, and turned to leave. I didn't want to get entangled with Sarah, but she grabbed my sleeve. Fran, what are you doing here? How could you use a fake identity to fool everyone? A fake identity. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I turned to her and asked, Sarah, what kind of person do you think I am? She didn't answer, instead continuing her own train of thought. I know you're trying to get back at me, but you can't take such a risk. We can't afford to climb the social ladder of the Ku group. Don't be reckless. She said it as if she was concerned for me, but really, she was just worried about me exposing the truth. How are you so sure that my surname, Ku, doesn't belong to the Ku group? Sarah shook her head. You can't be. Maybe she was lying to herself, or maybe she truly looked down on me, thinking I wasn't worthy. And stay away from Sophia. I remained expressionless. We've already broken up. Weren't you just throwing a tantrum? Sarah frowned. Francis, I've already taken several steps back. Don't push your luck. Do you really think you're good enough for Sophia? If she finds out your identity is fake. But before she could finish, the director's voice interrupted. Everyone, Please gather in the living room. The next activity required each group to work together to complete a small game. Sophia and I were perfectly in sync, easily winning first place. We high-fived, and the sparkle in her eyes made my heart skip a beat. All right, that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you to everyone. Now you can head back and rest, the director announced. As soon as the words left his mouth, Sarah blocked my way before I could get into the car. Francis, are you serious about this? She was crying, looking as pitiful as if I were the one in the wrong. Do you remember our promise? How could you treat me like this? I gently pried her hand off my sleeve, my mind clearer than ever before. I heard my own voice. To hell with that promise, you bitch. Chapter 9. Even after hearing that recording, I wasn't fully resigned. I was still making excuses for her. But then my childhood friend dug up a timeline and sent it to me, telling me it was the day she and Luis first conspired together. When I saw it, I realized just how pathetic and ridiculous I was, an absolute clown. That day was the same day I knelt in the ancestral hall, begging for Sarah's future. Meanwhile, she was on the set seducing Luis, dragging him into bed. No wonder I had wondered why. After hearing I was sick, she had come to see me so quickly. It turns out she thought her career was secured and could now spare a little time for her boyfriend. Back then, I had thought all my efforts weren't in vain. After all, she loved me so much. Even when I noticed the red marks on her neck, I believed her when she said it was from all the mosquitoes on the mountain roads she traveled to see me. Ha ha ha. That night, I laughed until I cried. So now, I had no more expectations or love left for Sarah. Sarah, who had never heard me curse before, was dumbfounded, forgetting even to cry. Sarah, I have to admit, your acting skills have really improved since entering the entertainment industry. I smiled slightly. That's how you can tell me how much you love me to my face, while scheming behind my back about dumping me and hooking up with a rich second-gen. Sarah's eyes widened. You. Then, as if remembering something, she started shaking her head, crying again. No, I didn't. Fran, please let me explain. I closed the car door, shutting out her sobbing, but she still banged on the window. Fran, please, listen to me. Leaning back against the seat, I thought, it's really over between me and Sarah, or is it? Sarah was more ruthless than I had imagined. That same night, just as the audience's impression of me was improving, a post from a gossip account dropped a bombshell. A shocking relationship between the reality show's guest and actress Chi. Chapter 10. It was a video. There was no audio, just footage of Sarah clutching my sleeve, crying non-stop. To anyone watching, I looked like the bad guy. I was just shipping him and Goddess Sophia, but now I feel so bad for her. No wonder Sarah, who had been eager to dump me, suddenly tried to win me back. She was afraid I'd expose her, so she beat me to it. As expected, her manager's call came through almost immediately. Fran, it's me. Sarah's voice was choked with tears. I'll explain that video, but to avoid any more drama, please listen to me and withdraw from the show. Okay. No. My refusal clearly stunned her. She hadn't expected me to be so stubborn. You're just an ordinary person with no background. How do you plan to fight back against whoever leaked that video? Fran, you're going to regret this. Failing to get what she wanted, Sarah dropped the act and went straight to Weibo to clarify. Yes, Francis and I were in a relationship, but we broke up a while ago. I apologize for not being open about this, but even I don't understand why Francis is participating in the same show as me, let alone getting close to Senior Sophia. Whatever his intentions are, I hope no one else gets hurt. And just like that, I was trending on social media as the guy who pursued another girl while still having feelings for someone else. Even before Sophia's fans could get angry, Sarah's fans swarmed my account. What a scumbag, pretending to be a devoted lover. Stay away from our sorry. Some even dug up the claim that I was the stalker, still harassing Sarah even after our breakup. My WeChat was flooded. Besides Sarah's fake attempts to convince me, the only messages were from my parents and Sophia, checking on me. I replied, don't worry. After all, that recording was still in my hands. Chapter 11. The internet noticed that, after staying silent for so long, I finally posted a message, the truth, along with an audio recording. All night long, the audience and fans were shaken to their core. I turned off my phone, ignoring all of Sarah's incoming calls. The next morning, I woke up to see that Sarah had posted a new statement. She flatly denied the content of the recording, claiming it was just her rehearsing with her manager and that the audio had been edited. She urged fans not to be misled by me, but the public didn't buy her story, flooding the comments section. You might as well just leak your ID number at this point. Stop pretending. Sarah immediately went live to explain everything. Francis and I started dating in high school, she said, showing old photos of us from back then as evidence. But ever since I entered the entertainment industry, he couldn't accept me acting with other male stars. And because my career hadn't taken off, I couldn't make our relationship public. So we had more and more conflicts. And the rumors about me and actor Liang. It's all a misunderstanding. We're innocent. But Francis couldn't understand my job and kept pressuring me to make our relationship public. I couldn't take it anymore. So I broke up with him. But he kept harassing me. This time, too, he came on the reality show with a fake recording, threatening me just to get back together. Now I was the one who was confused. This explanation was so full of holes. Once I released the evidence, wouldn't it ruin her? Just then, I saw a message from Sarah threatening me. If you dare to ruin my career any further, I don't mind using Luis's influence to crush you. Francis, don't think that just because you have a fake identity, you're really part of the coup group. I was surprised by Sarah's sudden shift in attitude. It's a shame I never saw her true nature all these years. Or maybe, once upon a time, she really was just a simple girl with a dream of making it big but got lost in the pursuit of fame and fortune. I did as she wanted and didn't argue anymore, letting the online rumors bury my comment section. But I was preparing something big for Sarah. After all, I wasn't really just a poor boy. The annual television awards were approaching, and I had been invited, as the heir of the coup group. Chapter 12. The awards ceremony was bustling with excitement. Sarah arrived with Luis, walking the red carpet together. A reporter asked her bluntly, "Miss Sarah, your ex-boyfriend still hasn't responded. Do you think it's because the truth has already come out, or is he planning something bigger?" Sarah had been waiting for questions about her new drama, but hearing this one, her smile froze. Her response was as official as it could be. "I think it's best we part ways on good terms." Little did she know, that very phrase would soon be used by everyone to mock her. The awards ceremony kicked off, and when it came time to announce the Best Actress award, Sarah was visibly nervous. Luis leaned in to comfort her quietly. Fans in the live chat were squealing with excitement. As for me, I stood backstage, ready to present the award. The winner of the Best Actress award at this year's television festival is Sophia, for her role as Rong Jia in Heart Companion. Sarah's hand clutched the fabric of her dress tightly as she stared in disbelief at Sophia, who slowly stood up. How could this be? Of course, I knew why she was so shocked. To Sarah, this Best Actress award was hers for the taking. After all, she had arranged for Luis to bribe the judges long in advance. But thanks to my intervention, this year's awards were more fair. And now, please welcome the presenter for this award, Francis, heir to the coup group. Bang. The sound of Sarah knocking her chair over as she abruptly stood up echoed through the room. Everyone turned to look at her in surprise, but all she could do was stare at me as I walked onto the stage. The host quickly regained control of the situation. When I handed the trophy to Sophia, she was a bit taken aback. That was clever. A double blow to both her career and love life. Then she winked at me and added, "But she deserved it." Amused by Sophia, I offered my arm to help her down from the stage in her high heels like a gentleman. The live chat was exploding with comments. "What a spectacle," she said, "part ways on good terms. But why is she so upset?" Looks like Sarah really didn't know about Francis's identity. Imagine her panic right now. But what really got the internet buzzing was that the Best Actor award went to Luis, and the presenter was me, again. So, of course, our forced smiles during the award ceremony quickly became a viral meme, with people calling it the iconic part ways on good terms versus It's a Misunderstanding duo. Chapter 13. In the end, Sarah and Luis both left the awards ceremony in disgrace. After that, I never saw Sarah in private again. She bombarded me with messages, but I blocked her completely. However, I knew she was undoubtedly panicking now. Meanwhile, my relationship with Sophia was progressing. A subtle air of romance was starting to form between us. The audience eagerly anticipated the next episode of the dating show. Finally, the director capitalized on the hype and started the broadcast right on time. This time, Sophia and I were the first to arrive. I surprised her with her favorite desserts, which made her eyes light up. "I made them myself. You're amazing." Netizens, "I'm totally shipping the national goddess and the rich heir. Count me in." But Sarah couldn't stand it anymore. Seeing the distance between me and Sophia closing in while I repeatedly ignored the flirtatious look Sarah was throwing my way, she finally couldn't hold back. "Fran." After the recording wrapped up, she approached me, pale and trembling like a fragile damsel. "Are you still mad at me? I misunderstood you before. I thought you liked Sophia, which is why I said those things on Weibo. You know how jealous I can get." Before she could continue, I interrupted her. "Miss Chi, haven't we already parted ways on good terms?" Her deliberately pitiful expression froze on her face. As I started to leave, she hurriedly grabbed my arm. "Fran, how can you be so heartless? Have you forgotten all the hardships we endured together? All the days we fought side by side?" She started playing the emotional card. She reminded me of the time we had run through a downpour to meet with an advertising director, only to end up in the hospital after landing the deal. We both hung on 4 drips, laughing like idiots at each other. Have you forgotten all of that? I haven't forgotten, I replied. Sarah's face lit up with hope, only for me to add, it's you who forgot. The more you bring up the good times from the past, the more ridiculous it seems to me now. All you're doing right now is because I'm the heir of the coup group, right? Do you want to ask me why I didn't tell you earlier so you wouldn't have wasted all this time searching for some rich second gen? Sarah, you're truly disgusting. Her pitiful act no longer fazed me, not in the slightest. Sarah didn't reach out for me again, as if my words had dealt her a fatal blow. Chapter 14. Even though I spoke harshly, Sarah still managed to stir up old memories within me. So, I went out drinking by myself, laughing at how stupid I had been. That's when I ran into Sophia. Seeing me drunk out of my mind, she seemed to get the gist of it and awkwardly tried to comfort me. Don't worry, you'll meet someone who truly loves you. Where? Sophia swallowed nervously. Right in front of you. She looked at me anxiously. Suddenly, I sobered up, blinking at her with a dumbfounded expression. You've fallen for me? No, I haven't, Sophia said, exasperated. I just feel sorry for you. Okay, can't I? I scratched my head. But I don't really believe in love anymore. Once, Sarah truly had eyes only for me, and now, she genuinely only had eyes for profit. How could it be that they were the same person? Time can wash away so much. Sophia understood my hesitation and laughed. Are you actually hesitating? You know, I'm really at a loss here. My first love interest isn't even a virgin. I mumbled under my breath, but I am. What? I continued slowly. Back then, she was young, and I couldn't bear it. Later, she wasn't willing, and I never forced her. It wasn't that I hadn't been tempted, but every time, Sarah had refused. Looking back, it was probably because she was afraid I'd discover her involvement with Luis. Sophia looked shocked. You've got some serious self-control. But Francis, what I want to say is, there's no need to fear starting a new relationship just because of one failed love. Maybe all the heartache from before was meant to lead us to this moment. There was always a light in Sophia's eyes, I knew that. But for some reason, this time, when I looked into her eyes, I saw a reflection of myself. Shall we give it a try? Before I knew it, I had responded. Okay. Chapter 15. In the latest episode of the reality show, my relationship with Sophia had noticeably grown closer, and the viewers were catching on. They're definitely together, right? Hey, where's that woman who said, let's part on good terms today? It wasn't until I saw this comment that I realized Sarah wasn't there. The director said she'd taken a leave of absence, but I had a feeling she was up to something. Sure enough, halfway through the recording, the trending topic exploded. Sarah attempts suicide for love, hospitalized in critical condition. But the public wasn't buying it. Comments flooded in. You said we should part on good terms. Sis, why are you attempting suicide? Still, there were paid bots chiming in. He's already moved on with Sophia. Classic rich kid move. No delay in finding a replacement. Some people were even swayed by these comments. Sophia suggested I go see Sarah. I agreed, but I brought her with me. So, when Sophia and I walked in hand, Sarah's pale, sickly face flushed with anger. Fran, do you really have to be this cruel to me? Seeing that I remained unmoved, she turned her gaze to Sophia. Miss Fran's just throwing a tantrum with me. You don't need to play along with him. Sophia calmly smiled, then wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me. What kind of act? It's the real deal. Sarah was stunned, frozen in place before finally screaming. Get out, both of you. Francis, you can't do this to me. As I closed the door to her hospital room, I saw the hatred burning in her eyes. Sophia uneasily warned me. You'd better be careful. I have a feeling she won't let this go. And sure enough, the flames of revenge quickly spread to her. Suddenly, the internet was flooded with blackmail against Sophia. All kinds of rumors, even some obscene ones. Seeing this, only one thought came to mind. Sarah had lost her mind. But this time, she had crossed the line. I didn't hesitate any longer. I released all the evidence I had of her past affairs with wealthy CEOs during our relationship, while also helping Sophia clear her name, issuing legal notices to hold the responsible parties accountable. Sarah was taken in for questioning by the police while she was still in the hospital. After all, her actions had seriously violated Sophia's rights. Sophia, for her part, had been kept away from the internet and wasn't too affected by it all, but she was surprised at how far I had gone to retaliate against Sarah. You've completely destroyed her. I patted her head, no regret in my eyes. The only reason I didn't do it sooner was out of respect for our past. But she hurt you, and I can't forgive that. Sophia, don't worry about me having lingering feelings for her. I made room in my heart a long time ago. I placed her hand over my chest. Now, I only have room for you. Sophia smiled, clearly unfazed. I'm not worried about that at all. In fact, I like you even more for doing this. Some men, after breaking up with their exes, act all nasty about it. But Francis, I trust you. I believe in your feelings for me. We exchanged a smile. Our relationship was now public, shared openly on social media. Sophia promised to give me absolute security in this relationship. We both agreed that our careers were just as important as love. Chapter 16. For her serious violation of others' rights, Sarah was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Before she went to jail, she asked to see me one last time. This time, Sarah had no makeup on, and for a moment, I almost thought I saw the old version of her. As soon as she spoke, I knew she hadn't given up, resorting to her usual tactic of playing the victim. Do you remember how, back then, you got so drunk trying to meet your company's targets that you threw up? I couldn't stand it, so I drank for you. In the end, we both ended up puking. Back then, you said you'd marry me. You promised you'd give me a grand wedding. Tears streamed down her face. But Fran, how did we end up like this? I calmly responded. The real reason you went with me to meet that advertiser was to pave the way for your own future, not to help me meet my targets. Sarah, stop pretending. Sarah dug her nails into her palms, nearly breaking the skin. I only made one mistake. Why can't you forgive me? One mistake, I laughed. Do you remember how you landed that luxury brand deal with the Z family? Do you know how you got it? I knelt in the ancestral hall all night begging my parents for it. And what were you doing that day? Sarah's expression went blank for a few seconds, her pupils shrinking. But wasn't that Louise who? I laughed again. The thing I had begged for on my knees, she had thought was her reward for seducing Louise. Sarah refused to accept the truth, gripping the iron bars tightly as she confronted me. If you had told me your true identity sooner, maybe things would have been different between us. I shook my head. No, people don't turn bad overnight. So even if I had told you, it wouldn't have made any difference. We would have just ended up walking down a more disastrous path. Francis. I didn't hesitate as I turned my back to her desperate cries, walking away. This time, I had truly said goodbye to the past.